Hello, hi. If you don't know who I am, then my name is Samira. Thank you for clicking on the video and watching. So today, I'm making a video or videos about mental health. I want to try and help raise awareness. A lot of people can be ignorant to mental health, and I think a lot of that is to do with just not being educated and not having the information to really know about it. So today I wanted to talk about bipolar in particular. I will be making a series of videos on different illnesses, and the reason for me doing that is that last week through a company called Clinical Partners, I went to see Dr. Najib Khalid, and they're a private company and I paid to get a diagnosis. The reason why I went privately is I am under the NHS and the local community mental health team, and I've been going back and forth with my symptoms, and the waiting list through the NHS, obviously they are very stretched at the moment, is just quite a long time, and I just felt like I needed help now. So yes, his conclusion, I spent about 2 hours with him, and we went through my childhood, my background, and things that I'd previously been diagnosed with. His conclusion was that I have traits of bipolar 2, emotionally unstable personality disorder, and EDNOS, which is an eating disorder not otherwise specified. When it comes to bipolar, I'm going to talk mainly about bipolar 2, purely because that's what he said I had traits of. I can make a video on bipolar 1, if you'd like, let me know. Just want to do a disclaimer, by no means am I a medical professional. I'm not trained or professional mental health. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just talking about my personal experience and information that I have been given as well, and just research that I've done, just to try and help get information out there. So if I'm looking down as well, it's because I've made notes. I didn't want to miss anything out. So apologies if you do find me looking down. So what is bipolar disorder? Bipolar consists of hypomania or mania, which is a high. It consists of depressive episodes, which is a low, and then some people can experience psychotic symptoms either on a high or low. And by psychotic symptoms, I mean hallucinating, losing touch with reality, hearing and seeing things, and those types of things. So in general, everybody has variations in their moods. Everybody does. Not everyone's always happy. Not everyone's always sad. Nobody's like completely like this. Everybody has variations. But in bipolar, going from your high and low moods, it can be really, really overwhelming. The term bipolar refers to the way that your mood changes from two very different states. So obviously it changes from either hypomania or mania, which is a high, to a depressive symptom, which is a low. So bipolar 2 can experience depressive episodes as well as hypomania. Now, hypomania and mania are different. Hypomania is a milder version of mania, and it lasts for a shorter period of time, so it lasts for a few days. So some people find hypomania and mania enjoyable. They like being on the high. They like experiencing the buzz and things like that. And then for a lot of other people, they can find it uncomfortable and distressing. And what I'd say is, obviously there are perks of being on a high, but also your behaviour changes and the way you feel changes, and you can become more riskier, and sometimes you can't remember anything that you've done on a high, and so that can be distressing for people, obviously. So a lot of people think, oh, bipolar, yeah, but you get the highs as well. It's not always an enjoyable experience. So how you may feel on a high is you may feel happy, euphoric, with a sense of well-being. You may have lots of energy, be sociable, you may have racing thoughts, you may have creative thoughts, you may come up with all these great ideas. So sometimes on a high, I think I'm going to turn into a businesswoman, I'm going to set my own business, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to do college, I'm going to start my own makeup line with all these makeup applicators, just all of these ideas. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, coming up with creative ideas. I'm just saying that that's something, I'm just giving you some examples of me personally on what they are. You may feel like you can perform tasks better and quicker. So obviously if you may feel that you've got lots of energy. So obviously if you've got lots of energy, you do feel like you can do things quicker than if you haven't got a lot of energy, kind of dawdling around. Whereas if you've got all this energy and you know you're raring to go, then it feels like you can complete tasks quicker. So you may feel impatient, irritable and or angry. So I can feel agitated, and it's nothing against anybody in particular, but sometimes I feel that way for no reason, and the littlest thing can set me off. You may feel confident with high self-esteem. So I don't always think that's a bad thing, especially if you lack confidence and self-esteem normally. It's nice to feel good about yourself and it's nice to feel confident. Sometimes maybe it can take it a bit too far and it's borderline arrogant, which obviously isn't so great. You may feel more attractive, flirtatious and have more of a sexual desire. You may be restless and on edge and have difficulty relaxing as well. And you may have heightened senses, so colours may seem brighter, noises may seem louder, and the world just may seem like a more beautiful place in general, and that's not a bad thing. And then, so that's how you may feel on a hypomanic episode. So not a manic episode, a hypomanic episode. And how you might behave, so they're your feelings, how you might behave is you may be more active than usual. Because obviously you've got a lot more energy, so you know, you're raring to go and you want to do all these types of things. You may be taking some more risks. Sometimes risks pay off, sometimes they don't. And that's what I mean is, this is what can be uncomfortable, distressing, is the risk taking. You may be very friendly, you may be very talkative, you may sleep very little, and I personally do, I probably get about 2 hours sleep on the high. But you can wake up and function completely fine the next day if you're still on the high, because you just don't feel like you need sleep. You've got all this energy and you're rearing to go. So you may sign up and take on loads of different activities and responsibilities as well. You may start wearing colourful and or extravagant clothing. You may start making lots of jokes and puns, so kind of the class clown, the life of the party, you know, the person to go to, always laughing, always joking, always happy. You may also, though, find it hard to stay still, so you may find yourself fidgeting a lot as well. So that's how you might behave on a hypomanic episode. After an episode, sometimes it can leave you feeling unhappy, disappointed, or ashamed about how you've behaved, especially maybe the risk-taking behaviour, or if you've got higher sexual desires, you may become maybe a bit more promiscuous. And so then when you come back down, then it can leave you feeling, you know, embarrassed, ashamed, and those kind of things. If you've taken on those extra responsibilities and commitments, that can feel overwhelming. So it may seem like a great idea on a high, but maybe when you come back down and you realise that you've taken on about 50 different things, it's overwhelming and you don't know how you're going to cope with them all. You may have very few memories of what you've done on a hypomanic episode, or no memory at all, and that can be distressing, even if you remember some of it, but you can't remember all of it, and then if you remember none of it, because you've got no idea what you've done. And you may find that after the episode comes a depressive episode, and that's something that I would agree. I explain it as a crashing feeling, so you're on top of the world and then you come crashing down into a depressive episode, and that can be quite hard to deal with. So talking of depressive episodes, obviously I've said how you may feel on a hypomanic episode and how you might behave, so I'm going to do that now for a depressive episode. So you may feel down, upset or tearful. I know I could probably drop a biscuit and cry over it, and it's a massive deal. You may be tired or sluggish. You may not be interested in or finding enjoyment out of things. You may have low self-esteem and lack confidence. Obviously, if you're feeling low, then it tends to affect the way that you think of yourself. You may feel guilty, worthless or hopeless, that lost feeling of I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and just nitpicking at yourself as well. You may feel agitated and tense. I touched on that with a high as well, but you can also feel like that obviously in a depressive episode. And then sometimes obviously if you are really down, you can feel suicidal as well. So that's how you may feel. How you may behave is you may stop doing things that you normally do. You may have trouble sleeping, so insomnia is quite common in people who have depression or depressive episodes, or you may sleep too much, so you may sleep the whole day, and you can still wake up and feel absolutely exhausted. Eating too little, so your appetite may decrease, or eating too much. Being withdrawn or avoiding people as well. Being less physically active than usual. And then self-harming could be a way you behave if you're feeling suicidal or attempting suicide. On that note, I just want to say that if anybody is feeling down or suffering with depression or depressive episode, please reach out to somebody. If it's a family member, then obviously great, confide in them. If you feel like you can't go to a friend, if you feel like you can't confide in a friend, you can always confide in me. I'm not a judgmental person, obviously I suffer with mental health myself. If you feel like you can't talk to me, please go to your GP. Please don't suffer in silence. Please reach out to somebody. You're not on your own. As I said, 1 in 4 people do suffer with mental health, and they will be able to help you and assist you further. But again, if you don't feel confident in going to your GP, then you do have people like the Samaritans, and I've reached out to them before. And maybe sometimes it's easier talking to somebody that you don't know because you feel like you're not going to get judged. They don't know you as a person. And they do offer a text service as well. So maybe if you don't feel confident enough to pick up the phone and talk to them, then you can text with them as well. But please, please, please don't suffer on your own. Please, please reach out. The saying is, a problem shared is a problem halved. And I definitely agree. Bottling it up is so hard, and then you feel overwhelmed and you just explode with all your feelings. But if you offload that with somebody, maybe they can help, maybe they can throw out some suggestions, but sometimes it's just nice to get that weight off your chest. So please feel free to speak to any of those people or message myself. Many people find with bipolar that a depressive episode can feel harder to deal with, especially if you've been on that high. You've gone from being on top of the world, then you come crashing down to a low. So maybe if you're here and you come to a low, it's not as extreme, but from going to right up here to all the way down here is a massive fall, and it can impact you a lot, and it can make the depression feel a lot deeper as well. What causes bipolar? Nobody really knows. Research suggests that it's a combination of physical factors, environmental and social factors. And research shows that they give you more of a chance maybe of developing the condition. Also, there's research to show that maybe childhood traumas, if you've suffered a childhood trauma, then you may be more likely to develop the condition. And by childhood trauma, I mean physical abuse or sexual abuse, neglect, traumatic events, and maybe losing a loved one, a family member, a close friend, a carer, those kind of things could make you more likely to develop the condition. Another thing is stressful life events. So a lot of people can find links with a stressful event happening in their life to developing the condition. And by stressful life events, I mean things like a relationship breakdown, money worries and poverty, or again experiencing a loss of a loved one. There's also evidence to show the brain chemistry. So evidence shows that bipolar symptoms can be affected by certain psychiatric medications that work with your neurotransmitters, and your neurotransmitters are your your messenger chemicals in your brain. So that suggests that bipolar disorder can be related to problems with your neurotransmitters, but obviously that's not guaranteed. There's some research for it, there's some research against it. Nobody really knows at this moment in time. And then genetic inheritance. So if somebody in your family is suffering with bipolar disorder or severe mood swings, even if they've not been diagnosed with the disorder, then you are more likely. There's no, you know, like bipolar gene. There's no things like that. You can't inherit it. And to do with your family, it can be much more complex. But say you're brought up by somebody suffering with bipolar, maybe your environment that you're brought up in can be a bit different, and that could impact you. But as I said, it's much more complex than that. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on today. Please share the video. I'm just trying to, as I said, raise awareness and get some information out there just to educate people, and just so people can have a bit more of an understanding. Personally, I didn't know too much about the disorder myself until it was mentioned to me and things like that, and then I looked into it. I will be making more videos on the other mental health issues as well. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, any other videos you'd like me to make, then please feel free to message me or leave me a comment. But if you've made it to the end, thank you ever so much for your time and watching my video, and take care. Thank you.